Janus versus the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Council 31. A landmark U.S. labor law, United States Supreme Court case concerning the power of labor unions to collect fees from non-union members. What does all mean? We have with us here today on the Advocates Corner a great friend of labor, Stuart Salas Esquire from the law office of Stuart Salas. Sir, thank you so much for taking time to join us today.
Thank you, Clark, for the invitation.
Please, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm an attorney and I represent many of the labor unions in the city of New York. And I'm talking about people in the public sector, city, state, municipalities, transit authority, housing authority, etc. And the Janus case, which was decided at the end of June, has significant impact on all of the public sector unions. And I mean public sector, not the trades, not the plumbers, but people who work for all the municipalities. The law as it stood, or before Janus, said that a labor union, all right, would have the right to have the employer deduct dues from every employee that's in their unit, whether the employee wanted to or didn't. So that if a person didn't want to be in a union, didn't want dues, too bad. Automatically deducted. Now, there are two types of dues. There are the full union dues, which would entitle the member to full benefits, and those that didn't want to be in the union still had to pay what they called agency fees. Agency fee says you got to pay us for collective bargaining, but you don't have to pay the full amount to be a union member. Average 78%. So whatever the union dues were, 78% would be the agency fees. State law said, union, agency, too bad, we're taking money out of your paycheck. Janus was a public sector employee in the state of Illinois who objected to it and said, I don't want to be a member of the union. I don't want you touching my union dues. You don't have the right to do it without my okay. And all the courts in Illinois said, no, Janus, you're wrong. We're going to keep letting the unions keep the dues deduction. U.S. Supreme Court in a 5-4 said, that's illegal, unconstitutional. And that it's unconstitutional to force a person to have money taken out of his or her paycheck for something that she or he doesn't want. I don't want to be in the union. Don't take money out, and you, employer, city, state, municipality, stop taking it out. There was a leading case called Abood. It's a 1977 Supreme Court case. It's a Detroit case, which upheld the union's rights to demand that the city, state, municipality take dues from everybody. So, 77 to 18, that law was in existence. Janus now says no good. This will have a serious impact on the union's ability to continue a lot of the work that it does. Much of it is lobbying for legislation that's helpful, and much is it for handling different types of benefits that the members need. What's interesting about the Janus case is that the union now is still mandated to do collective bargaining. And collective bargaining is when the union and the employer sit and negotiate a contract. 3-year contract, it raises every year, you get additional benefits, seniority, etc. The union is still obligated to continue it even for those people who are not paying dues. The governor, in anticipation, with all the labor unions, in anticipation of Janus overruling Abood, had a law passed or an executive order back in April saying that if you don't pay dues, the union is not obligated to help you with any discipline issue if you're being brought up on charges for firing or termination, or for any grievances if you think your seniority is affected. And therefore, the only thing the union is obligated to do is negotiate a contract for you. My own personal opinion is that's much ado about nothing. Because ask any union, any labor lawyer, they will tell you that approximately, in guessing, 95 to 98% of union membership never get into trouble, have no discipline, have no problems with their workload and no grievances and nothing. So quite frankly, you could get the benefit if you're a person that has no grievances, no problems, no discipline. You could get the full benefit of what the union does for you by getting you raises and more benefits without paying a dime.
The union argument. I protect you, and there's a fee that goes with that. What do you think about that?
Well, the issue of it's what's the definition of protection? So if protection means I'm in trouble, help me out, meaning I'm in trouble, they want to fire me, help me out, guess what? The union doesn't have to help you. But you are free if you get into trouble. And if you're not in the union, to either rejoin or go out and get your own help or handle a case on your own. So quite frankly, a very, very small percentage of union members get into trouble. But the big thing that the unions do, they're now obligated to continue to do it, whether you pay dues or not.
Question, and I see that in some of the paperwork, where I see 2 or 3 times in the Janus case, there's a freedom of association. Explain that.
Well, when you say freedom of association, are we talking about the union's rights to lobby for you? You know, I'm not sure what you mean by association.
Okay.
But quite frankly, the unions will still lobby, whether they have dues from 100% of the members or not, because they'll still do what they think should be done for everyone, dues paying, non-dues paying.
Okay. Okay. Will they suffer? You know, whenever
the unions will suffer because, Clark, the unions are driven. You know, it's a big machine. You need oil and gasoline to drive the machine. Money is the oil and gasoline. All right? So that if a person is running for office, all the unions have their own group of people. All right? The ones on the phone, the ones giving out posters, that's driven by union funds. So if the union funds are going to suffer, that will adversely affect their help, their assistance to political people running for office. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's really only about the money.
That's correct.
Okay.
The highest court of our land, the Supreme Court, has made this decision. Is there an appeal process, or this is it?
That's it.
This is it.
That's the end.
Wow.
Doors closed, doors locked, no place to go.
And this is very...
The only thing they could do, though, if Congress was more or so inclined, Congress can enact laws. All right? Then that law might then go back to the Supreme Court, because for sure someone would test it.
Right.
But candidly, with the Republican Congress, with a conservative Supreme Court, with a Republican president, until the political dynamics change, you're really stuck with this case,
with this verdict,
and with this decision.
This decision. Something I've noticed being involved in the labor movement is I see that there's a lot of confusion. You know, who does what? The city. What does the city do? It appears like there's issues with implementation of this thing.
Okay, what's interesting is, I'm glad, that's a great point, Clark, is that the Janus case is not final. I've read a lot of articles and a lot of decisions and a lot of people talking about it, not final. If you read the last line in the decision, page 47, that decision says we are remanding or sending it back to the lower court for implementation, which means Supreme Court says you can't do it. And of course, the next question would be, well, what do we do? Supreme Court didn't tell you what to do. Supreme Court said it's remanded or sent back, and you get into the nitty-gritty and all the mechanics as to what the procedure or process should be. The City of New York has taken an approach, and that is we are now requiring dues deduction cards from everyone. They're requiring, I had a disagreement with the city, and I said that your decision to now require cards from everyone is premature. You've got to wait till the implementation issues are decided. Governor Cuomo, in his infinite wisdom, and I'm being complimentary to him, yesterday came out with an executive order that said, in essence, I'm not waiting for the other courts and the Supreme Court to decide. If you were already part of a unit, whether you liked it or didn't, union, agency, whatever, if you're part of it, you're staying there. If you want to pull out, you have the right, Janice says,
That's right.
but you got to affirmatively write us a letter or send us something saying, take me out. The city's position was that I want cards from everybody. Governor Cuomo said, you don't have to require cards from everybody. You not require, if dues were taken, we keep taking it. You want that to stop, it's your right, send me a letter.
Send you a letter, and that's something pretty much is breaking news.
Yeah.
The Governor Cuomo directs New York State Department of Labor to issue guidance on the U.S. Supreme Court Janus decision.
Correct.
It's right here.
That is correct.
When does this come out? This came out
yesterday.
Yesterday. Did you read it? Did you read through it?
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Listen, I think it's terrific because it really says what Janice says, and that is, if you don't want in, tell us. Tell us, and if you don't tell us, we'll keep taking your dues out. So I think it's good. Because otherwise, to now start to require going out and getting new cards from all of them. Hey, take a look at some of the larger unions, 100,000 people. They're going to start going around getting cards from everyone, or those who had not previously signed cards. That's chaos.
Absolutely.
So at least, with the governor's new executive order, it brings some semblance of order to the process, after the Janus ruling.
Thank you for coming to the Advocates Corner, and you're going to be back again.
Thanks a bunch.
I have your promise?
Thank you.
I have your promise.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. We're going to be back with a labor leader. Let's see how it's affecting him and his union. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Clark Pena, and this is your Advocates Corner. We're talking about state of our unions. We just finished discussing the Janus case, which really is going to affect everybody, to include union members. And we are once again honored to have with us at the Advocates Corner someone that was with us before, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the big things that the organization is doing right now, and also going to talk about the Janus case, how it affects him and his members. We're honored to have our friend, Kenneth Winder, the president of the Law Enforcement Employees Benevolent Association. How are you, sir?
I'm good. And yourself?
Welcome back.
Yeah, same to me.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
We got to come back more often.
Oh, well, we'll make that continuous.
I
We'll
look
do
forward
that.
to
All right,
it.
no problem.
Kenny,
Yes.
Tell us what's going on. You're doing great things. The last time you were on our program, we spoke about some of the members that you were trying to give them proper representation, if you will. Tell us, update us.
Well, I mean, since the last time we was here, we represent the Department of Environmental Police right now. We also represent Department of Transportation, Highway and Sewer inspectors. Since the last time we was here, we also picked up Department of Sanitation Enforcement agents and associate enforcement agents.
By landslide, I heard.
Yes, very good. We also
was a good one, I
have 2 other petitions that we're in. CUNY, which was we're on appeal right now.
CUNY, City, University, New York, Public Safety.
Public safety officers.
Okay.
And also Health and Hospital Police.
How is that going? You've been trying quite a bit for that. For
Health and Hospital has been a good 5-6 year battle.
Really?
Yeah. And believe it or not, the Janus decision that just came out, I think, will open the door to the blockage that I received from the city, because it's been the city, not the members. They're denying them these elections, and I don't think that's fair. And
yeah.
the Janus decision definitely has, in my opinion, opened up the door, so that these members will have their choice to go to what union they want to go to.
Right. And for the record, we did send an email to the city. They wanted to have some equal time. We didn't get a response, and that's okay.
Well,
we have
they're going to do what they do. There you go.
What's going on with this Janus case? Was this something that was unexpected? And how was it affecting your union?
Well, it wasn't unexpected. I mean, the Janus case has been around. The right for agency fees and dues has been a fight in the court system for years. And now the conservative judges, everybody's sort of writing on the wall, And so when the decision came out, wasn't too shocked. The implementation is the problem.
Okay.
As you can see here, this is just a decision, but it hasn't been set, hasn't been finalized.
This is, Kenny, this is the decision?
Yes.
Like a book.
You know what? They had a lot of writing to do. Took them a couple of months to make a decision, So they had, oral arguments on it. And most of the union leaders knew this was coming down.
That it was coming down.
Yeah.
How does it affect the members? Like I was speaking to our prior guest, the members are asking, what do they do? Who do they speak to? How does it affect them?
It affects them, it gives them a choice now, but it affects the people who choose differently. And I give you an example. Before, if you had the majority, in my opinion on the Janus cases, it still should be if the majority of the title or the employees decide that they want this union, then the rest should follow suit. That's my feeling as far as the right to representation for your association. Janus went to say, you know what, hey, I don't want to belong to the group, fine. But what it also states is that I still have to collectively bargain for you. And I have a problem with that because you become as essential as if you see in the Janus case, they mentioned free riders. So what it means is you still receive your benefits, we still have to collectively bargain for you, and you pay nothing. Mm. Meanwhile, the other members who are paying, what do they start to say slowly as they go, I'm paying every bi-weekly, every month, and here's a group that's not, but they still getting to enjoy this contract that we're going to get. Right. And a lot of the money that you do pick up from their dues do cover things that a lot of the members don't understand. For us, it pays a lot of bills. Again, lobbying, and I mean, all unions do it. You need funds to even for their benefits. Some of the benefits exceed over into the dues paying side. Your lawyers, your arbitration, you fighting for this collective bargaining. Where's that money coming from?
Right.
And the problem is, I can't understand free riders. That why would you want to, if you don't like your union, then you should, there's always a decertification process to leave your union.
As a group?
As a group.
Okay.
Correct, the majority, as a group, okay? We all know that on a bike chain, if one link goes, it's gone. But in this case, just because a few people have a different view shouldn't stop the majority of the members from exercising their right to have the union and to control what goes on. I mean, the Janus case is leaving it to every individual, and it should be done on a majority role. And with the decertification process, which I'm glad you talked about, which brings me to the Janus decision, is in the past, LIBA has done many decertifications, all to be stopped by the city, who believes in fragmentation.
Okay.
Now, I'll explain what fragmentation is. Fragmentation is, they believe that you're already in a group and you should stay there. There's no reason for us to fragment you out, because it would interfere in their smooth operations of collective bargaining. Now, I don't see nothing smooth in it, because contracts are always late. Some 6, 7 years late, 4 years. So adding another certified bargain certificate is not going to explain, is not going to hamper what the city does. Also, why should the city care who sits on the other side of the table, who's representing you?
That's true.
Now, in the past, they used this to stop LIBA from growing and other members from exercising their right to get out. But if you look at the Janus decision, which I brought here today for you, and it says something very strangely, because when you go through a decertification process, what happens is you get 30% of the members, they decide they want to leave, you force an election. Doesn't mean you're going to win, it just means that they have a right now as a majority to say, we want a union that's best suited to represent us than the union that we're already in. So now with the Janus decision, the city can't use the fragmentation issue, because once you got past the showing of interest, the city would now come in and say, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, wait a minute, got to go through this hearing, fragmentation, nope. I mean, you should see some of the briefs that I've gotten back from the city with some of the answers in it. One was, if LIBA was to represent this group, it would cause a disparity in wages and benefits between the other special patrol officers.
Right.
Are we talking collusion here, that as long as they stay within the other unions that they're in, there won't be a disparity in wages, but if they come to LIBA because they know LIBA is going to fight for better wages and higher wages? You know, also statements as we don't want to disturb the long-lasting relationship between the union and the members and the city. I mean, but if the members are telling you they want an election, who are you to say we don't want to disturb your relationship with the union?
Well, that was clear with the going back to the sanitation enforcement officers. You know, that was a landslide win. That was a landslide victory.
All of it was. DOT was a landslide.
DOT was a landslide
also,
victory as well.
was DP. So you cannot tell what the members want until you give them that opportunity, which is an election. Let the election speak for itself.
Is an election still necessary? I'm getting a lot of questions from the members, from different members of labor. Is the election still necessary, or can the individual member opt out and go wherever they want to go?
Well, again, because the decision is not finalized, but by reading it and speaking with our attorneys, yes, you can opt out and you can have somebody else represent you. But here's the problem. Again, it's what the city's going to allow you to do and what it's not going to allow you to do. Right now, the city's telling you, you have to go out and get these dues deduction cards, new cards, when apparently the governor's already come out and said that that's not what you have to do, but the city's still insistent that you go do it because that's how they want to interpret.
So this press release that was put out yesterday by the governor.
Correct.
You no longer have to collect the cards?
No, you don't. It says right in the back on the last page, it says, if you have dues cards already, you don't have to do it again. Or if your employees have dues deducted from their employer previously, whether they had a card or not, you still have to continue. So why is the city going out and still demanding that you bring in new dues deduction cards? Because the city of New York wants to do what it wants to do. I've had plenty of times I will show them their own rules, administrative rules, and they'll tell you, but this is how we do things here in the city of New York.
It sounds like there's a lot of confusion. That's the way I see it. You know, the governor's putting out one thing, the city is doing another thing. So we shall see. We shall see. Well, on that note, I hear that the Law Enforcement Employees Benevolent Association is the only labor organization that has placed a Article 78, the first. What's that all about?
Well, it goes back to the right to representation, and the Janus case specifically states it. Now, in the past, the city was able to implement their law, but now with the Janus case, we have filed for decertification for health and hospital police.
Correct.
We lost that. The city said that they weren't able to come out because of fragmentation issues. So we filed Article 78, and we used the Janus case to describe why their ruling is no longer, to me, applicable or even right. It's an error. And I read the section in the Janus case that is what we base it on, is number 3 on page 5 in the decision. For these reasons, states and public sector unions may no longer extract agency fees from non-consenting employees. The First Amendment is violated when money is taken from non-consent employees. For a public sector union, employees must choose to support the union before anything is taken from them. Okay, so accordingly, neither an agency fee nor any other form of payment to a public sector union may be deducted from an employee, nor may any other attempt be made to collect such a payment, and this is the part, unless the employee affirmatively consents to pay. So if OCB, Office of Collective Bargaining, is stating that, city, states that we're not going to have you an election, then aren't they doing what the whole Janus case was about? They're telling the members, no, you must pay your dues or agency fees or whatever you consent to the union that we're telling you to, even though you're telling us this is not the union that you want your dues to go to. Before you even have the choice to either pay or not, they're telling you this is where your money has to go. Direct violation right now of the law, now that the Janus decision has overturned it, and we're going to use that as.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Appreciate it.
And we will see you again very soon.
Very soon. I think within the next couple of weeks, there'll be some other news that we're going with. We have a couple other groups that have reached out to us. Matter of fact, many members have reached out.
We want to break the news here in the Advocates Corner.
Yeah. Maybe we can have some of the members call in.
Absolutely.
Start doing that. That'd be even better.
We'll do a call-in show.
All right.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Take care.
And thank you so much for joining us. My name is Clark Pena. This is the Advocates Corner. Hasta la próxima.